Hello everyone, I'm Rifat Ara Shams welcoming you to my presentation titled Measuring Bangladeshi Female Farmers' Values for Agriculture Mobile Applications Development. We are from the Office Lab that stands for Operationalizing Values in Software from Monash University, Australia. I'm sure you might have a question after reading the title that what are values? Well, I searched this term in Google, and Google thinks values mean breakfast, hotel, bathroom, bed, coffee, Wi Fi, park, etc. Well, I don't disagree. I mean, I can live without breakfast or bed maybe, but can't manage without bathroom and Wi Fi. Fair enough, right? But still, I think values should be something more. Then I again searched, and this word cloud popped up: money, ATM, bank accounts, payment, and much more. All the business and economic values. But the values I'm talking about is more than these monetary values. According to a social psychology researcher, Shalom H. Schwartz, values are desirable transsituational goals varying in importance that serve as guiding principles in people's lives. That means values are what people consider important in life. Values are something that refer people's personal and social preferences. For example, diversity, integrity, strong, curious, powerful, family, honesty, tradition, security, privacy, achievements, and so on. Now the next question is, what is values in apps and why it is necessary? Well, did you ever thought how much struggle your grandpa needs to do every day with tiny fonts of a mobile app? Feeling bad, right? Imagine how easy it would be if the fonts are larger enough to read by your grandpa. Don't you think this accessibility issue is the most important value he expects from the apps? But how many times do we think about values while developing apps? In fact, the necessity of addressing values in apps can only be realized if any value violation occurs in apps. Let me share an example. There is a ride sharing app named Pathao in Bangladesh, just like Uber. This is the most popular and the most downloaded app in Bangladesh. In 2018, a scandal got a huge media coverage that Pathao accessed its users' SMS and contact list for marketing purposes without the permission of the users. This is a clear value breach. The privacy is breached, the trust is breached. As a result, Pathao had to face loss of profit and humiliation. After a few months of this scandal, Pathao sacked its 300 employees in one day without any prior notice. Media guessed that this is the consequence of the previous scandal. Can you imagine how horrible the result of value violations in apps can be? Addressing values in apps become more important if the app users are women. A recent study shows that a huge number of menstruation apps, almost 61%, are sharing users' incredibly sensitive personal details with Facebook immediately after opening the apps, and of course without the consents of the users. Even this happens whether the user has a Facebook account or not and whether they are logged into Facebook or not. While this is the most personal thing a woman can have, and for some conservative societies, it is still a taboo. Can you imagine how ridiculously women's privacy are breached? Can you imagine how much bad impacts of this can have on women's lives and their mental health? However, besides this privacy, security, or accessibility, there are also other values which should be taken into account while developing apps. For example, freedom, independence, equality, social justice, social power, social recognition, tradition, pleasure, and much more. Let me share another story. A woman in a remote area of Bangladesh who was a homemaker changed her life by simply using an agriculture app. With the help of it, now she is conducting agriculture business, contributing to her family and the economy that led her to become, independent, gain confidence, raise her voice, and live with dignity. However, the same woman stopped using an app because of the lack of information regarding crop diseases. That means the app couldn't meet her curiosity and information requirements. Similarly, another woman avoided an app because of the complex language. So it is clear that she expects simplicity from the app. Therefore, limited consideration of users' values in apps can lead to user disappointments and negative socioeconomic consequences. Several techniques have been proposed to integrate human values in software, such as value-based requirement engineering, value-sensitive design, value-sensitive software development, values-first software engineering, and value skill sort. Despite these efforts, unfortunately, software and app development companies have limited consideration of values of end users, especially the values of vulnerable groups in conservative societies. Of course, it is a challenging job to consider and integrate human values in software and apps, as they are difficult to capture and express. Furthermore, there is also a lack of understanding of what the values of end users are. Today, I am arguing that the essential first step to incorporating end users' values in relevant apps is to measure their values. For this purpose, we have conducted a survey with 193 Bangladeshi female farmers to explore their values. If their values can be addressed in the agriculture apps they use, we believe it would facilitate their effective participation in agriculture and boost the digital economy. For this, I have used a universal human values theory from social science called the Schwartz theory that has defined 10 main value categories like universalism, benevolence, conformity, tradition, security, power, achievement, hedonism, stimulation, and self-direction. These values are measured from 58 value items such as equality, wisdom, social justice, and so on. I have also used a well-known value measurement tool called the Portrait Values Questionnaire, PVQ, developed and validated by Schwartz. There are 40 portraits in PVQ, and each portrait describes a person's characteristics that refer to the importance of a particular value. For example, it's very important to her to help the people around her. She wants to care for their well-being. It is related to the value benevolence. Then the participants were asked to compare themselves with each portrait and rate on a 6-point scale. This is the methodology of this paper. I have translated the PVQ to Bengali for their convenience. I used SPSS to handle the missing data and analyzed the data to identify their value priorities. I have also divided the participants into 3 demographic groups with age and education level to explore how their value priorities differ demographically. Finally, I identified the value priorities of Bangladeshi female farmers and explored how their value priorities differ with different demographics. This is the results of this research. For the Bangladeshi female farmers, conformity and security are the most important values, while power, hedonism, and stimulation are less important. This is the ratios of positive and negative value priorities for all the 10 values. Conformity has the most positive priority, while power has the least. These are the value priorities of different age groups. As you can see, all the age groups have positive priorities for benevolence, universalism, self-direction, and conformity, whereas negative priorities for hedonism and power. The priorities of security and tradition are the highest for the lowest age group and the lowest for the highest age group. In both cases, the priorities become positive to negative as age increases. On the other hand, the priority of self-direction is the maximum for the highest age group and minimum for the lowest age group. The priorities of stimulation increase from negative to positive with the increase of age. This table shows the relation between value priorities and education levels. The priorities of achievement decreases as education levels increase. On the other hand, the priorities of security and conformity increase with the increase of education levels. The priorities of hedonism and power are negative for all the groups. Overall, the priorities of hedonism and power are negative, and the priorities of universalism, security, conformity, and tradition are positive for all the groups. I applied the same process for the groups with different numbers of educated family members. The priorities of hedonism and power decreases, whereas the priority of conformity rises with an increase in the number of educated family members. The priorities of benevolence, stimulation, and conformity are the lowest for the least educated family group and highest for the most educated family group. On the other hand, the priorities of hedonism and power are the highest for the least educated family group and lowest for the most educated family group. Only universalism and conformity have positive value priorities for all the groups. Okay, I'm trying to summarize the results here. We found that conformity and security are the most important values, whereas power, hedonism, and stimulation are the least important for Bangladeshi female farmers. Their values differ slightly with different demographics. Conformity and security are their most important values except for the older age, lowest education level, and least educated family groups. On the other hand, power and hedonism are the least important values for all age, education level, and educated family groups except for the least educated family group. Well, regarding the suggestions on how to address values in mobile apps, we have already provided a prioritized list of values as a basis for app developers to align the Bangladeshi agriculture apps with the values of female farmers. However, these values shouldn't be considered as an afterthought, but should be incorporated early during the app design. We propose to use our approach to elicit values from users to develop value requirements for the app development lifecycle. Then these values can be fed as an input to the available techniques such as value-based requirement engineering, participatory design, value-sensitive design, value-sensitive software development, values-first software engineering, and values queue sort. In future, we are planning to conduct a similar study with Bangladeshi male farmers to determine the extent to which the value priorities are gender specific. All right, I'm at the end of my presentation. If you are interested to know more about my research, please reach out to me. I'm happy to chat. Thank you.